So somewhere around, I came here in 2007, I believe, 2006, 2007, and somewhere around 2010, I started teaching a class here at Nevada State University in Henderson about really teaching students the techniques, learning about local history. And I have to be honest, when I started, I really didn't know much about the history of this area. And we as a group really delved into local history and started learning that. And then eventually the students used that material to go out in the community and conduct oral history interviews of people connected with the original town site of Henderson, which we called Basic, right? And about several of the elements of that, including the first religious institutions, people who worked in the plant, all of that sort of, important, information that kind of set the groundwork. And one of the things that we learned, and it really was interesting, was the question we asked was, why is Henderson where it is? Why is Henderson even here in the first place? And we really have to go back to the early days of World War II and Great Britain. At that time, Great Britain really was bearing the brunt of the Nazi air assault. And the British, one of the things they had been doing is producing magnesium locally. Magnesium was a very, very important metal at this time. It could be mixed with other metals to create an alloy that was really strong and could work for airplane parts and other kinds of war materials. But it also could be mixed with thermite. And when it's mixed with thermite, it becomes an incendiary. An incendiary that can, an explosive device that also burns.
American troops put Nazi guns out of commission. It's a precaution against recovery of lost equipment by Germans who might possibly infiltrate behind an armored thrust. Thermite grenades are used to destroy barrels and breeches of the weapons.
And these were really important in World War II. They would talk about, you could go back and look at the Army Air Force manuals looking at cluster bombs. And these were really important in some of the land warfare. They were very destructive in cities like Dresden in Germany. And there was a feeling among the Allies, among the Great Britain, the United States, sort of, quote unquote, free France in exile, that there had to be a place that we could produce magnesium. The Germans knew exactly where all the British facilities were. They knew where the mines were, they knew where the production plants were for refining the magnesium into a usable metal. And so they started sort of brainstorming, and basically what happened is they realized that we're a better place to do this than the American Southwest. It's so far removed. The Nazis can't bomb it. It's a place where we can produce a lot of magnesium fairly easy. And we knew there was a whole load of magnesium in northern Nevada. And what would happen is eventually a consortium of people, some British officials and some British British corporate figures were involved. There was a brick company back east that partly took upon itself to get involved in this project. And then there were the War Production Board, right, the US government element. And they came up with a plan which was to mine this magnesium in upstate Nevada, and then they trucked it through the railroad lines through Utah down to southern Nevada. And the question, of course, is why Henderson? Why here? Well, at this point, the Hoover Dam, one of the greatest sort of public works projects in history in some ways, was completed. And what did it have? It had lots of water and lots of available hydropower, a lot of electricity available. Well, those are the two things that you need to produce refined magnesium, which was so important for the war effort.
It provided electricity and the water, And then we had the railroad system for Las Vegas. So, and then it needed to be somewhere, built somewhere where it was dry. And this was actually the right place that all of that would provide such a setting that they could have the plants.
And the United States Army at that time ordered BMI to be built for that specific purpose, to build components for not only beans and bullets, but also for machinery and weapons, you name it.
The plant was what saved the war.
And so they selected Henderson because it was a nice flat area. It was close enough to the dam that you could easily run a water line. You could run power lines out to it. And it was a place you could also kind of build, what you needed for the workers. Eventually they built, whole town sites with houses, small houses, by kind of today's standards, but houses, right?
Henderson was because of the plant. Everybody came here from all over the country to work at the plant, and it provided an income for our homes.
And so, Henderson was selected, and they built what became known as the Basic Magnesium Incorporated, which was the company that refined the magnesium to then send off. I think a lot of it went out to Los Angeles, San Pedro port to be used, to be either sent to factories for munitions or for airplane parts or whatnot.